Welcome, 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 everybody. Hey, this is our first installment of a career internship acceleration video series brought to you by Mercer County Technical Schools and your old pal, Mr. Nash. Some of you are probably going through with Nash withdrawal. Some of you enjoy coming to my office and getting Nashed. I'm fine with that. I can deliver it on the internet and bring my A game to you through the power of YouTube and fancy computators. To quote Homer Simpson, they got the internet on computers now. So that being said, let's talk about what we're going to really do here over these next couple of weeks, because obviously we got an update, there's a little bit of rollout time. And my goal, as I reflected on as I created this series, was how can I arm students that are career-minded, internship-minded, how to connect what they're learning with opportunity once things return back to normal. Because things are going to return back to normal. And this will be a point that we reflect on and say, wow, how did I best use this time to help advance me in my future? And that's what I really want to do with this series. So today we're going to talk about your career pathway. And we're going to unpack this. So as we discover and unpack even further tools to be used, such as Clifton's Student Strengths, which is something I'm going to bring up to you guys soon. In addition to that, I got my self-directed search. That's going to be our next video, these two items coming up. And then we're going to shift into our resume creation and building for a high school student or perhaps entry-level college student. And of course, we're going to do interview, complimentary to having my own daughters involved. Possibly Mrs. Nash will make a video appearance. And we're going to model these things for you so you guys can do it. But let's really get into the meat and potatoes. This is really about your career pathway. So if anybody watching, you don't know me, moms and dads, it's the first time you're seeing this guy Nash and you've heard the name, well, welcome. I'm glad to meet you. And students, I miss you too. Here we go. So this is a little snapshot of who I am as a person that can give you advice and counsel. I got a heart for MCTS students and CTE in general. We don't say VOTEC anymore because that's jean jackets and mullets. So obviously I'm the student internship coordinator. I help manage internships for 100 plus students, whether they're official CIE components or career internships from job leads and career-based leads that filter into our school. I'm an OSHA instructor. I've worked construction in the summer, and I enjoy sharing those stories and opportunities. And I'm a community liaison for Mercer County Technical School and Mercer County businesses. And my number one thing that I'm happiest about is I'm a proud husband and father. Mrs. Nash and I have been married 20 years, and I got two beautiful girls. Here we go. There's a little snapshot, but let's get really what you guys are. Right now, this is your life as a high school student. It consists of 4 boxes. This is trademarked and will be in my book, Leaving Teenage Island. So you spend a majority of your time in these 4 boxes, and don't you dare say sleeping or in bed. So the first one is school. Well, school's at home right now, but once we return back to normal, you spend a large quadrant of your time in school, 8 to 10 hours a day, depending on your activity level. Work, by the time you are 15, you should be working some type of entry-level retail position, and we're going to talk a lot about that more later. And if you say, well, Mr. Nash, I'm 14, you're allowed to legally work at age 14. There's some phenomenon going on in our society about, oh my God, my kids can't work until they're 18. There are some companies that do that, and I'm not mocking people, but there's some serious disconnect between adults and kids included that they can't work till they're 18. And that is a catastrophic failure for career success. Here's another one. Home. Look at you. Very happy at home. And then you get upset when your mom pulls in from the car from Costco and you have to put down the video game controller and get up. We're going to talk about that. And here's the last time. F stands for friends or pastimes or having fun. So here's the key thing. You're in each one of these areas. What separates them all? It's a fancy psychological term that our own Mr. Orff would appreciate and understand. It's called boundaries. The boundaries stop these items from smashing into each other, as we'd seen that Office episode when they watch the box move around the screen. But nevertheless, when you're at school, you have to execute and be proficient. When you're at work, why do they pay you to go to work? They pay you to work and execute. And we're going to talk about the 5 elements of executing while you're at work. Home. Home becomes a lot better when you start contributing at home. Not nonstop, but when you do see your mom pull in, put down a video game controller and say, here, I got the groceries, you go inside. All right, moving on to our third box is our H, which stands for home. And that's where we are right now and spending a lot of time. But look, let's face the facts. Your relationship at home has a lot to do with how you interact with those people that support, care, and love and provide for you. In other words, when you start to view your parents as a resource that you can support and help, chances are the dynamic in your home life is going to get a lot better. Let me give you an example. Do you take one dish out of the dishwasher or one glass out of the dishwasher and shut it? Or do you unload the whole dishwasher? When was the last time you cleaned your bathroom? Oh, you don't clean bathrooms? Well, guess what? You're going to own a house one day, and you're going to need how to clean a bathroom. And where you learn how to clean a bathroom is when you live at home. When you're 6, 8, 10, 12 even, you get to wake up, watch cartoons, and do nothing. But at the time you're 14, 15, 16, 17, you're dry running when you go away to school, when you live on your own. You need to take a hold of that and be a contributory part of what goes on, because that gets you in the mind frame to execute. And the last box that we got is our old friends and fun box. Now, you guys are masters at this box, so was I, to be very clear. This is the first box that you really learn how to hammer out in the initial stages of your life. That's why doing these other boxes is difficult. So the problem is we all want to try to bring the fun into all of these. But what separates all of them is that fancy psychological term that Mr. Orff knows, our school psychologist, boundaries. See, there's a time to perform in school, and you need to execute and provide what needs to be done to receive the resources and knowledge there. At work, you show up to work, not to get out and do fun stuff, but to execute, make customers happy, generate revenue, work with integrity, care about your coworkers and the greater good, and be teachable. That's what you're doing at work. Home is, of course, you get to live and do the things you want to do, have your separation and isolation time. But at the same time, are you contributing and being a person that's a part of your home life? Because that's what it really is. And the last part is all that time with your friends and that's left over and that you can do. The problem is if we try to friend it up all the time, it screws everything up. Look, I got a serious question for you. What's the difference between a teen and a functional adult, an emerging adult? I used to say what's the difference between a teen and an adult, and then I added functional. Functional means you got your own place, you got a career and have a career that you enjoy doing, you take vacations, you got the car, the clothes, that life you want. What's the difference between this and that? And the answer is functional adults do the right thing when no one's looking to provide the life that they want. And that's where you learn. If you can learn to master these 4 quadrants right now, because that's what's expected of you by the time you leave high school, that you are proficient in school and obtaining knowledge. That's why you go to school, is to obtain knowledge. Work, understand how to execute. We're going to build on that. Home, be contributory in your living area and arena with other people. So when you have roommates or a spouse or things like that. And friends, how to be a good friend. Okay, here we go. Next slide. Okay, plan B. Everybody says, oh, what are you going to do for the rest of your life? You guys are going to work 50 years and 81,000 hours. And if you're feeling like that's a pin prick into your super fun bubble of life and you're deflating when you hear that you're going to work roughly 50 years or 81,000 hours, first of all, that is a choice that we're going to arm you with, that you can make a very solid choice and do things that you want to do. But I always show everybody this. This is your plan B. These answers are answers that I received from people, 14 in polls. I performed a non-scientific poll, but these are the most common answers I got from people received in my study and my research from 14 to 18. But the reality is these don't pay the bills. They're great to have as your dreams, and you can aspire to do that. And that's kind of like your plan B. That's your secret fantasy career, and there are people that do this and have made it. I'm not the dream crusher and tell you can't. But if you say that's your number one, you have a better chance of picking 8 winning lottery numbers than doing these, because every other kid, 14 to 18, from the coast of Maine to the tip of San Diego and draw an X from Key West to the top of Seattle, all feels the same way. So just do the math on that. 6 million kids all trying to do the same thing. It's not going to work out. All right, Nash, since you're Mr. Know-It-All, middle-aged, annoying guy, what do you recommend? Well, it's not about me telling you what to do, but it's you formulating a plan that others have done, and the people that have that adult life that you want started out with, hey, what interests you in school? You may be like me. I didn't like any conventional schools, and it wasn't until I came to MCTS and I attended the automotive technology program that I really found my heart and my passion, because I found my talents, which I built into strengths, which we're going to talk about through this series. And then ultimately, what are they going to pay you for in the outside world? And these are just examples of student graduates that have entered this, whether they went to 2-year, 4-year college, military, career-based employment with upward mobility, or trade school. That's the next move after you graduate high school. They're doing all these positions here. So plan A is, hey, what interests you? And being what interests you is, what are you naturally good at? What are your talents and what are your strengths? And tie those to what people are going to pay you for. It's very logical, and I'm a very logical person, and that's why I break this down. After counseling probably over 1,000 kids. I mean, I've been the job coach for 10 years now and worked passionately with my classroom for 10 years prior to that. Let's get to you guys. More about you, less about me. Okay. Here's the keys to establishing your career pathway. First of all, you need to do the AAA. Attendance, appearance, and attitude. Attendance, you just got to be at school. Number one statistic, guys and girls that come to school every day, whether they're in love with the class or not, which hopefully you're in love with the class you selected at MCTS, they do very well. Appearance, yeah, I know it's fun to wear pajamas on pajama pant day, but if you leave the house every day wearing your SpongeBob SquarePants fuzzies and your Muck-Luck slippers, the real world probably isn't going to be paying you much attention and paying and treating you with the dignity and respect that you hope to obtain. Always remember this, everybody. Respect is earned. It's never given. People are like, I want respect. You got to earn it. I earn people's respect every day, whether it's students, coworkers, employers, etc. The rules that all apply to everybody. And your attitude. 90% of your life is your attitude. Listen, we'd all love to have it easy, but easy isn't how it goes. So you got to take those lemons and turn them into lemonade. Heck, look what we're doing right now. Here we go. You got to contribute around your home environment. When you learn how to be selfless, you learn how to excel. We all have this thing called the human condition. We're narcissistic and self-absorbed, me included. But when I rise up and support the people in my life, whether it be Mrs. Nash, my girls, my coworkers, my students, people in my pastimes and the activities that I do, life gets a lot better. Now, does that mean I have to be a person that just lives for everyone else? No, don't confuse that. But it's not about me, I. Start working about retail. When I say retail, some type of position where you're providing services or goods for customers, and you're also talking and communicating with other employees, being resourceful, counting money, showing up on time, not taking every other Friday off, or like calling out on Saturday because you feel like not going in like. Please, if I had $1 for every employer that told me that emerging adults, young people that are coming up, the second it gets hard, they hit, where's my tap out button? I don't have one, but I'll just use this mouse. They hit the tap out button, it gets too hard. Listen, you got to grind through. I love how you guys all post memes, grind till I shine, count my millions in my 30s, grind it, retire in my 40s. Dude, the second it gets tough, all you guys want to do is quit. Come on. Here we go. What's the difference between a job and a career? That was the final thing I had on here. So look, this is very cool. This is something, again, using student input that I brought up for you guys. You got the job, you got the career. A job, no skill or talents required. We can train anyone to do a job, pretty much, for the most part. Lots of people can be trained to do it. That's exactly what I just said. No additional training or advanced level training or schooling is needed to do the job. You can be trained in a job roughly within 2 to 3 weeks of doing the job. Employees are easily replaceable. A supply and demand concept that very much rings true. And short-term jobs are usually anywhere from 6 months to 2 years in length. They're not super long-term. A career. Oh, and here's the most important one. Hey, listen, people don't pay a lot for jobs. Why? Because the people that are the company owners can't stand their workers? No, absolutely not. It's supply and demand. It doesn't require a lot of talent. Lots of people can do it. So the talent pool to fill the position doesn't warrant the wage. Now, you say, well, Mr. Nash, I know people that have jobs that make very good money. Again, we're breaking down the difference between job and career. And sometimes jobs are very fulfilling for people, so I'm not knocking them. I'm talking as if you're a 14 to 18-year-old individual on this list right here. Okay, let's keep going with the career component. We start to access that natural talent and ability and how to turn them into strengths. Limited number of people with those talents and ability, with that particular skill, lead to a career. Careers require anywhere from 4 to 7 years of advanced schooling, and they are constant lifelong learning and training, meaning whether you're working full-time and going to school at night, or working 30 or 40 hours a week and going to college, or you go to the military, there's a point of 4 to 7 years where you got to get proficient for your first career. By the way, little Little sidebar note, you will have 3 to 5 careers in your lives, and you should have on average 7 to 12 jobs. Once I get done breaking down these lists, we're going to talk about those 2 things. Back to the career. Careers are usually long-term, 10 to 20 years in length. You start out at a company, you fall in love with the concept of what you're doing, you enjoy it, you get proficient at it, you work hard, you learn different departments, and then you cycle to, I wonder what's next. That's a normal career cycle. And here's the kicker. It's hard to replace career-based employees. People with a specific natural talent and ability and training and skills for 40 hours a week for 5 to 7 years build very talented, hard to replace employees. And then here's the key thing. They pay a lot because it's hard to obtain this, and you've worked for it, and they've shaped you. Now, quick sidebar. If you're the type of person that says, Mr. Nash, I don't want to work for someone. I want to have my own business. That's great. That means you have an entrepreneurial spirit. And I've met guys and girls that clearly have it, and I've seen them, oh my gosh, blossom in their businesses. Here's the reality. Where do you learn how to work? You learn how to work at a job. This is minor leagues. This is entry level. This is major leagues. And if you want to own your own company, how are you going to staff it with people? How are you going to hire those people? You're going to learn by doing. See, I could sit here and tell you what this is all about, but it's like me putting a bicycle in front of you if you were 3 or 5 years old, and then telling you how to ride the bicycle. But where do you really learn how to ride the bicycle? You got to go out on the driveway and you got to do it yourself. Ride down the sidewalk, go in the street. Hopefully there's no cars. My whole key point here is this. You learn how to work at a job. This is the entry-level place where they teach you and train you. Of course they train you how to do a career, but you got to really lock in on these points here to obtain this. This is always before this, and never forget that, everybody. So now you say to yourself, oh my God, I'm 17, I haven't worked yet. It's okay, you got time, but why not use this time off to watch this video series and further strengthen yourself so when things do come back to normal, you can activate. Let's go to our next slide. Why do you work in life? This is something that is new, that has surfaced from me working with guys and girls. And it hit me this year on the way to work. A lot of my concepts that I bring to my students come to me when I'm driving, and I don't know why that is. You go to work in life. First of all, I didn't ask you, do you want to work or who wants to work? That's a ridiculous question that I will never ask any student. Why do you work in life? Execute. Execute consists of these 5 things. And I always do this when I'm standing in front of a classroom, but since we have a PowerPoint here, I don't have to put my fingers up like that. First and foremost, you work for someone to generate some type of revenue or exchange of goods. You exceed expectations of the client, customer, and your coworkers and supervisors. That's so important. You want to exceed expectations, go above and beyond. Not in the first 2 weeks. I call that the pom-pom phase. You want to showcase integrity. That's a fancy word for do the right thing when nobody's looking. Look, each one of us has to make that decision on a daily basis. Me included, you included, your parents included, your teachers, everybody. You got to do the right thing when nobody's watching you. And that's a skill. Like an athlete learns a muscle group to use to hit that baseball or swing that golf club or drive that football down the field. You have to learn mentally how to choose the right thing that the world expects of you. Because if not, we have anarchy in society. Be teachable when you go to work somewhere. If you ever utter the words, yeah, I know, psst, you don't know. Because they wouldn't be having this conversation if you did know. Yeah, I know is a deflection tool used by emerging adults, people 14 to 18, and sometimes adults that don't get it, let's be real, who try to dismiss and avoid what they feel is a critique or a component that makes them feel awkward. I say all the time, wow, I didn't know that. Teach me more. I can learn off other people. That doesn't mean you're weak. Not knowing something doesn't mean you're weak. Acting like you know something shows you're weak. Care about the greater good. Do you care about staying late if they need you? If they're doing inventory, do you really count and make sure it's right? Do you see trash as you're walking in by the time clock and you pick it up? I know you didn't put it there. Here's the reality. Care about the greater good. If you see an employee struggling, do you set up your workday so you don't have to help them? Because if those are your motives, oh, don't worry. The people that are getting paid more that are managing you, they see it all. That's why they're the boss. See, the bosses are smart. And I'm changing my delivery not to be snarky or sarcastic, because the reality is people think that they're a piece of invisible cellophane at work. The reality is each one of us is spray painted bright orange by our actions. And our actions speak who we are. So when you embody, when you go to work to execute, and execute consists of these 5 things, oh, don't worry. You'll exceed everybody at your job, and you'll take those skills, morph them into a career, and life will get good where you can vacation in Hawaii or buy that new car, get those shoes that you love and all that other stuff. Let's keep going. You guys are doing great, by the way. Look at that fancy. I got the fancy fade on that one. Coming back in. Here we go. All right, how do I get started, Nash? This is getting a little long and laborious. All right, first and foremost, nothing but A's, B's, and C's. Some parents might be like, oh my God, C's. Time out. Let me give you the Nash grading scale. Are you ready? A means adult level work, meaning in the real world, if you do earn A work in high school, that's pretty solid adult level work. B means that you're better than most high school kids. C, everybody's watched Despicable Me 2. Look, Mom, I made a rocket. You know, he draws the picture of the rocket, and the mom's like, eh. The real world thinks C's are, eh. That means you did the minimum, didn't get in trouble, but you really didn't put your heart and soul into it. If you do work when you go to work out in a job or career, oh, don't worry, you'll get passed up for the promotion. D means you don't care, and F means, hey man, come talk to me. For real. If you're failing a subject, come see me, Mr. Simic, Mr. Orff, your teacher. Come talk to me because we care about you. There's no reason for an F, and there's no reason for a D. Let's erase these 2 things. Because here's the fun part. The show's over. If you're a junior or senior, show's over in a year and a half. And then the real world comes up and knocks you down. And there isn't people there to say, hey, listen, I care about you. I want to build you up. There are, but they're hard to find. Let's keep going. Attendance. You got to be at school, no excuses. You got to be on time, and you got to be there, and you got to contribute. Attitude. Understand that you're going to be required to do things that you really don't want to do. And sometimes when things don't go right, you got to change that and say, hey, you know what? This isn't really what I want to do, but I need to be the greater good, and I need to contribute and provide value. And it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. Please do not think it is easy. I wish I had home movies of me when I was young. Here's our last one. Talk with your parents, guidance counselor, or anybody respected. Maybe it's the guy next door. Maybe it's a person that you work with. You know, if you ask people that what you think you want to do, if you were to call and interview them or ask them, or if you want to come down and talk to me, we'll develop a strategy down in my office where you can talk to people that are really doing these things. But that's my goal here, is for you to go, hey, how can I get to where I want to go and make that happen? The final piece of getting started are 2 really useful assessments, and they're known as Dr. John Holland's Self-Directed Search, which is, if you Google it, it'll take you right to the website. Costs $19. It's safe. I had students do it. Here's a copy of the report. Super informative, super interesting. Again, how do you get started? You need to know your strengths. And the second component is Clifton's Strengths for Students. If you want to understand how you're hardwired up with your employment reality in terms of your career, these 2 items, this gives you a list of careers that people are doing. It's brilliant how this is created, and this talks about you. Now, if you're like me, I'm not a super reader. Like, Nash, I'm not reading that whole book. I understand. Look, here's the first part of the book. It is only this. It's only 30 pages, roughly, in the first section. Then, once you read this, in the back of the book, there's an assessment that you take. You rip this open. I had to rip it open when I bought the book. The book's $14 on Amazon. And when you open it, sorry for that delay, it has a unique code and a website you go to. You take a roughly 20 to 30 minute assessment. It's very easy, very user-friendly. And that generates 2 really interesting reports. My daughter Kate did it. She's going to be a freshman in high school. And we're learning and building off this. And she's going to incorporate these strengths into her resume. So you see how this series is going to build. Welcome. I'm glad to have you. We're going to move forward. We're going to sharpen our sword. We have incredible companies in the area. Businesses like Amazon, Genesis Biotech, Shiseido North America. I met with the HR rep 2 weeks ago. Incredible opportunity, and we're going to build off this downtime to make us the best, fastest, strongest district in Mercer County. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you soon.